morning, friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie, and today I'm going to show you how to can sausage for long-term storage. So we've got our jars. I've got some sausage that I pulled out from the freezer yesterday. I've got my lids and my rings here. I've also got my canner, my pressure canner already on the stove, not heating up because we're going to be using a raw pack method. So I'm really excited to have you guys come along and join me today. This is my very first time doing this myself, but I've seen my mom can sausage, and my husband's family comes from a long line of food preserving as well, and so they've done lots of sausage as well. So I'm going to be doing some canning of sausage today. All right, so I've already got one jar filled. I had to cut some of the ends off so that they fit, because you want to make sure you leave 1 inch of head space specifically when you're canning meat. And so 5 sausages fit into 1 jar. So I'm just going to keep filling up my jars. And I want to say, this is fresh sausage. This is not smoked. And so hence the light color. But I'm just going to be cutting a little bit off so that it fits. Now, unfortunately, it's a little bit unfortunate really, because I was hoping that using quart jars, they would fit. And also, I had mentioned, but it didn't film, of course, the joys of technology, that I ideally would be using wide mouth quarts for this. But I'm not about to go to the store just to buy. We live about 20 minutes from like a good sized town, and so I'm not about to drive that far just to buy jars. So let's see if I can make that work. There we go. There, I'm trying to get 6 rather, 2, 4, yeah, 6 sausages into a jar, and then I'll can the remaining pieces in a separate jar. So yeah, we're just going to fill up these jars. As soon as we've got a canner full, which is 7 jars for my canner, we're going to get that going. I like to fill up 1 canner and get it going, especially pressure canning, because pressure canning takes so much longer than water bath canning, like fruits and pickles, that sort of thing. So I have a feeling I'm not going to have exactly 2 canners of sausage. I was hoping to have 14 quarts of canned sausage, but I was thinking 4 sausage pieces, 2, 4, 6. I was thinking 4 sausage pieces per quart, and that's not going to work. So I guess I'm going to fill up this jar with some pieces. You can it for this exact same amount because it's meat. It doesn't matter if it's in pieces or if it's whole. So we're just going to, I'm going to use a knife to push a couple of these pieces down a little bit further, so we've got less air space in there. There. Now, what's amazing about canning sausage is it's shelf stable, right? And so it's either a quick meal, or what I love doing is even throwing cooked sausage into a food processor and then adding some Miracle Whip or mayo, and you've got like a sausage salad, or you can make like a sandwich, kind of like a ham salad sandwich. It is so, so good. So I'm going to keep filling these jars, see if I can fill up 1 with these pieces. I really, really want to keep my fresh sausage separate from my smoked. So I might have to add a couple more to that one. Now, because I don't have a full canner full of these, I might actually wait, because I really want to have a full canner full, because I don't know exactly how many quarts I'm going to get from my smoked sausage. So I'm going to unwrap the smoked sausage and I will continue filling jars. All right, let's get this cut up. Actually, I just had a good idea. For these ends that I'm cutting off, I'm going to make like a barbecue sausage bite. I have a recipe for that I use, and I think that is going to work wonderfully for the ends. Maybe I need to cut some of these a little bit shorter. Oh, this smoked sausage smells so good. We love, love, love our smoked sausage. I will say that I'm not as big of a fan of the smoked sausage from the butcher that we used as from the butcher that we had previously just bought meat from. So the only thing is that butcher was an hour away versus one that was like 25 minutes away. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and hopefully, you know, we can maybe butcher our own pigs this year. I don't know. I would love to. I grew up helping my family butcher pigs with another family when I was a teenager, and so the process really doesn't seem daunting at all, really. But we don't really have the equipment. We don't have like the big saws and, you know, meat grinders and sausage stuffers, all that sort of thing. But we do have several families from church that also raise their own pigs, so we may end up going in together on getting some processing equipment, which would be amazing. It would save us so much money as well, because getting these pigs processed and packaged and smoked, all those things, was crazy. I had no idea that it was going to cost us that much money. I mean, still a lot cheaper than going and buying pork from the store, let me tell you, especially when you think of things like pork chops and tenderloins. And you'll never get as good smoked sausage from a store anyway. But, oh yes, having your own pork is just, having your own meat. Like, I would really highly, highly suggest that you try and raise your own meat where possible, because you can save so much money. And you know what, you have fed the animals. That is the biggest one. So you can raise them as cleanly as possible. So I don't think I'm going to fill the jar completely here again. Great. Let's fill this out. This actually is not taking us as long as I thought it would. Not that I thought it was going to take real long, but this is going really quickly. And you know, it's just, I absolutely love having shelf-stable food like this and having ready-made meals, in essence, right? Like, we can just pull this off the shelf, heat it up, and we've got a meal. There's nothing better. I call it homesteader fast food. So let's see. Let's fill up a jar of this. I may end up just cooking that up separately for a meal coming up next week, maybe. We'll see. See if I can fill a jar with this. Yeah, this is gonna fill a jar. Okay, so we're gonna save this. Oh dear, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're gonna put 5 jars in each canner. Or I also have a tip, which I will tell you about. Okay, so I also have a tip for when your canner isn't full. specifically meat, where it's a 90-minute processing time, what I do is I throw in some jars of dry beans. I use the no soak, or whatever it's called, the no soak method. And because why would you run a pressure canner for 90 minutes of pressure canning time plus the, up to pressure and then the depressurizing process? Why would you do that for like 2 hours or more when you don't have your canner full? This is the biggest thing for saving money. We are on natural gas here, and our natural gas price has doubled since last winter, which is insane. And everything in our house is natural gas. But anyway, so I try and make sure that my canners are full if possible. And it definitely does save money if you do it on a weekend. But we are going to get these jars prepped and get them into our canner. Okay, so in order to process specifically meats that are a little bit greasy, you want to make sure that you're wiping the rims with vinegar. I have vinegar on this piece of paper towel, and I'm just making sure there's no grease or meat left on the rim, because if there is, you won't get a good seal. And when you're canning meat, this is something that Ruth Ann Zimmerman on Instagram, or Homesteading with the Zimmermans here on YouTube, this is what she says. She's like, I believe it was her, for meat, she always uses new lids, and she tries to make sure she's always going to get the absolute best seal, because meat is an expensive product, and so you want to make sure you're always going to get a good seal. So I've got my my rims ready, and I've got, there goes that lid. I've got my lids here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 jars, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 jars. So I'm just gonna put them on, and then I'm going to label the ones that are fresh sausage and the ones that are smoked sausage. I prefer my smoked sausage. That's what I grew up with as a Russian Mennonite background. My husband, on the other hand, prefers fresh sausage, which is why we also have fresh sausage. So when you're tightening or putting your rings on your jars, you want to do it fingertip tight. That's it. You're not going to like really use your whole hand. You're going to just fingertip tight. Otherwise, you're going to get either jars that don't seal, or you're going to get a lot of siphoning, which has happened. For these, it shouldn't be a lot because there's not a lot of liquid in here, but I still want to make sure that my odds of jars sealing is high. So we're going to do this, just fingertip tight. And then I'm going to mark these. Hopefully this doesn't wash off in the canner. I am hoping. Fresh. And I don't know if anybody else is like this. I try and make sure that my label is like even and not like random with the brand of the lids on the jars. Now I'm in Canada, which you might have now guessed because of the jar or the lid name. So most of my jars and lids are all Bernardin, which is really the equivalent of Ball in the US. It's just, in Canada, the biggest brands that you can get for lids and jars is Golden Harvest and Bernardin. Bernardin is definitely the more expensive one and the one I prefer, but I've had great success with both. Okay, so let's get these into the canner and get them started on the pressure canning process. All right, so I'm gonna put my jars into the canner. I should show you. I already have my water in the canner, and I will say this, that make sure you're following your specific make and model of canner, pressure canner directions, because mine has to add 2 inches of water on the bottom, and now it is cold water. I have not started preheating it because we are cold packing. The water in your canner needs to match the temperature of the product in your jars. So that's why we're using cold jars cold meat, cold water, okay? So I'm just gonna keep filling up this canner, and then we'll show you the next step of how to can sausage for long-term storage. Now I feel like I have a bit too much water in here, so I'm just gonna scoop some out. And then one more jar. Perfect. So there you have it. We got a full we have a full canner of meat ready to be canned. So you're going to see, I don't know if mine is an all-American canner. I bought it on Facebook Marketplace a couple years ago. It was almost brand new for a fraction of the price. But I have this notch here that I need to line up. You see right here that I need to line up with the top of my canner. So I'm going to put this lid on. And I try and make sure that all these little gaps on the sides here are all even, or you're going to have steam escaping. And then you need to start your canning process all over again, and we don't want to do that. So I always tighten just slightly, always across from each other. So just barely. And then once you know you've got it even all the way around, then you really tighten them. I absolutely love my canner. I know it's an older model, but I love it. Okay, so this is what my canner looks like. It is the All-American model number 915. I will try and link it, a similar one on Amazon for you guys. So mine does not have a weighted gauge or whatever you call it. Mine just has a vent. So we're gonna leave it up so the steam can escape. I'm gonna turn my element on to high, and we will let it start venting. Once it starts venting, I'm going to let it vent for 10 minutes. Now again, follow your pressure canner's directions and guidelines. Mine is that I'm supposed to vent it for 10 minutes, and so I do that. Okay, so while that is in the pressure canner, building up to pressure, I'm going to get my jars of beans ready. So these are beans, kidney beans, that I grew in my garden last year. I did a little experiment, and I took dried kidney beans from my pantry from, the grocery store, and I planted them. And they came up, and they gave me 3 plants, gave me a quart jar of kidney beans. I also did this with white navy beans or northern beans. Same thing. 3 beans gave me 3 plants, and 3 plants give me a smaller amount. Those pods are smaller. They're a little bit more like a soybean pod. And it gave me a pint jar. So I'm really, really excited about that. So to can dry beans, I am just going to be putting half a cup of dry beans into each pint jar. Now pints technically are only canned for 75 minutes on 10 pounds of pressure, but I don't care if they get a little bit mushy. And so I'm going to can them the same amount as my meat. So half a cup beans, and these are already sorted into each jar. And then I'm just going to fill them up with hot tap water and wipe my rims and put the lids and the rings on, and we are ready to go. And you're going to fill them up to the neck with water. dishcloth. These aren't greasy, it's just water, so I'm just wiping up the water that's on the rims. And put my lids on. Again, your rings fingertip tight. And that literally took me maybe half an hour at the max, doing all that sausage and getting my jars of beans ready. It really isn't that time consuming. It's the canning process that is time consuming, not the prep. So we'll just wait for the canner to come up and start venting, and I will show you the next step. So the steam is coming out now. And so I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. And I will be back when I pop the valve down. Okay, so our timer just went, so I'm going to pop this down and we are going to watch the gauge go up to 10 pounds pressure, and we're gonna keep it there for 90 minutes. All right, so we are at 10 pounds pressure, so I'm gonna start my timer for 90 minutes and I'll bring you back when I'm done. Alright guys, so that brings us to the end of the video. I am so excited to have fresh, I mean canned, fresh and smoked sausage in my pantry for some long-term food storage, and it also makes for amazingly quick meals. And I did have some questions because I had shared on Instagram that I was canning sausage, and I had some people wondering about how I would can pork and not just sausage, as well as what I use it for. So the fresh sausage specifically, I would probably use it the exact same way I use like a baked or a sweet and sour or a barbecue sausage, and just do it in my oven, or use it as a quick sausage and penne casserole dish. And I'm excited because I think I'm going to try canning up some either pork tenderloins or some pork roast and using that as some pulled pork in the summer. We love to do barbecue pulled pork in our barbecue, so I'm really excited about that. So I hope this video was inspiring, and I hope that you guys enjoyed coming along on the process of me canning some sausage. And let me know in the comments what you are planning on canning, specifically meat, for long-term food storage. And with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.